today I want to talk to you about pruning your tomatoes. Come down here with me and let's check this one out. Let's look at this tomato first. It is a beast. It's called Super Fantastic. And it's an indeterminate tomato and it just grows to be a beast. But that's okay. Anything really close to the ground here, it's touching the ground, I'm gonna trim. They grow so fast. Kind of wish I'd gotten this limb before it grew that big, but since it's so big, I'm gonna leave it because it has some little blossoms on it. It has some tomatoes on it, so that's okay. Here's some blooms I found way too close to the ground. Those tomatoes will grow big and they will just rot. So, just gonna pinch that off. Yeah, no rotting tomatoes this year. One year I left those blossoms down near the bottom because I hate to cut off any blossoms. But then the tomatoes developed and they sat on the ground. And I even tried putting something under them, like a piece of plastic folder or a paper bag. And they just got wet and they rotted. So I had to virtually toss all those tomatoes that had first developed on the plant. So you definitely want to watch them when they're first developing and pinch off those little blossoms that are so close to the ground that they're going to be touching the ground when they develop, because those are going to be rotted tomatoes. And you want your plant to put energy into the tomatoes up here that aren't going to be on the ground and rot. So I'm going to clip off anything touching the ground. And I'm going to take these clippings and toss them. I'm not going to put them on my compost. I'm not just going to leave them here for tomato diseases. For reasons for that, I'm going to toss those in the trash. Only thing that I don't compost. I'm going to take this. The other thing I want to talk to you about is airflow. I want a lot of good airflow down here because in the Dallas springtime, Dallas, Texas, where I am, it can just be, we have kind of a wet season and it can just be really wet. So it really helps. Oh, there's some big tomatoes, yay. Now you want good airflow, but what you don't want to do is cut off too many leaves, because here in Dallas, Texas, when the hot weather comes in, that sun is harsh. And if your tomatoes aren't shaded by those upper leaves, then they're gonna get sun scald. They're gonna get sunspots. And then they're gonna rot right there. And that's not gonna be a good tomato. So yeah, I learned that the hard way. Definitely don't cut off too much so that those tomatoes will be shaded. And then in the summer also, when it starts to get hot, we get a lot of spider mite pressure. So, kind of the more leaves you have to shade, the better off you are going into summer. And then I know right off the bat that I'm not going to try to save these tomatoes into the fall harvest. I'm going to cut them off at the base, not the base, but about 10 inches up, cut the whole plant off, remove the vines, and burn them. And the tomatoes will grow back from the little stubs that I've left. So I already know I'm gonna do that ahead of time. So I'm not trying to control the size of this first growing season. So I'm not cutting off the suckers, I'm not cutting off too much, because it's gonna grow up, produce as many tomatoes as I can get, and then I'm gonna cut it down in July and let it grow back for a fall harvest. That's kind of the way in Dallas, Texas we do things, because we have two short growing seasons. We have a short spring growing season, and then we have a hotter than hell period where it's very hard. You're not going to get tomatoes because the bloom does not set fruit after nighttime temperatures get over 75, which can happen pretty quick. And then after the hotter than hell period, when I cut my tomatoes down or plant fresh ones in July, either way, you can root and plant fresh ones. And then after that period, there's another short growing season going into fall. And in November, we get our first freeze. So it's just a little bit different than other areas. where they grow tomatoes. And see this big branch right here? It's just pointing right towards the ground. So I'm gonna lose that one. All these ones that are pointing towards the ground, I'm gonna lose those. And then I'm gonna get good airflow. I want ones that are going up, headed up on my trellis. All right, I'm gonna get busy. Look at those tomatoes, so exciting. There is nothing like the taste of fresh vine-ripe tomatoes. Burton's come to help me trim the tomato plants. Hi, Guster. Also, anything yellowing, I'm gonna clip that off, or anything touching the ground, because we don't want it to get, the plant to get diseased. I'm also gonna get my twine out and tie these babies back up. It's ones that have fallen down like this one. When I'm done trimming each bed, I'm just gonna take some wipes and just clean off my scissors, because I don't want to spread tomato disease from one bed to the other. And then I'm gonna move on to the next bed. Sometimes I do it with each tomato plant, just depending on how they look. If I suspect a disease, I'm definitely very careful to clean my scissors after each pruning. All right, you guys, I am done with my tomatoes, pruning them. I am much happier with the result. Let me show you. This is much better. This is more what I want. See how I've opened up the bottom for airflow. I've cut away anything that is pointing towards the ground or touching the ground. And I pinched off any of those little blooms that are gonna grow and touch the ground and rot. I'm excited to see all the blooms. Looks like we're gonna have a great tomato season, you guys. This does take quite a bit of time, so this is what I did in my hour. I planted my peppers and I pruned one tomato bed. And then tomorrow or this evening, probably I will come out for a little bit and prune another bed. And then, so I'll do one each day, and then I'll come back to the first at the end of that week. All right, yeah, you gotta keep up with it. You really need to check it, you know, every week, because especially during the rainy season, they are growing fast. And then we're gonna get our twine out. In a little bit, these are gonna need some support. I kind of pushed some of them through the cattle panel, kind of weave it in and out as they grow, and that helps too. But yeah, definitely, I'm gonna also tie them up. My wish for you this summer is that you would have juice from a fresh, ripe, garden-grown tomato dripping down your chin.